Welcome, everyone, to the Side Draft Podcast. This past weekend, the NASCAR Cup Series went to Michigan International Speedway, place where we saw the Big Three shine once again, as they always do. And this week, it was Kevin Harvick dominating for the seventh time. And you just have to, be amazed at how strong these guys have been this year.
Yeah, I believe Harvick, he's been in the class of the field about every track we go to, a couple of times, Kyle Busch and Mark Truex would outrun him a few times, but here, he just took off. I mean, he just had a really good car and would just come up to the front there. So,
the beginning of this weekend, we had Denny Hamlin on pole alongside Kyle Busch right next to him. The same thing we saw at Watkins Glen. Those two. You could say that they're getting a little bit better at qualifying, which could be important for them at a track like Bristol where, the pit stalls matter. But it would be a Joe Gibbs front row again. But before the race began, we had Joey Logano. He would have to go back down pit road before the start of the race. Something with...
Yeah, there's miscommunication about which shock they should have put on the car. So that's a pretty bad... you're going out there for the start of the race and, hey, you got to come back in. We got to change these shocks. And it's like, what? So they come in and change them, but he had to go to the rear of the field. And it's pretty interesting watching him come through the field.
Yeah. And that he did. He finished around top 10. I believe he finished 10th. So
he was 10th. So really good for Penske there.
So still rallied back. We had Daniel Suarez also starting in the back because he wrecked in qualifying. So Daniel Suarez had a little buddy to follow around.
Yeah. I believe NASCAR called it a little rabbit.
Yeah.
Because he was chasing the 22 car.
Chasing the Logano rabbit. Denny Hamlin would lead very early on, led the first couple of laps until Joe Gibbs Racing teammate Eric Jones would decide that he wanted to go for a spin in turn 4. And that would bring out a caution. His car just seemed like extremely loose coming off that corner. That's one of the dangerous corners of this racetrack. It's really, really fast. And if you don't catch your car just in time, you're going to go spinning. And that he did. And I think that's why we're seeing some of the veterans dominate this year. Is because like these young guns just hadn't got the feel of the cars yet. And they're just taking the cake.
Yeah. So, it seemed like his car, I don't know if he just got out of that gray area, and because once you go above that, it gets a little loose. So he just went plowing through the grass a little bit.
And he was one of the cars that, a lot of the broadcasters said would be the one to beat, and he just was never there because of that early on mistake. So it was really unfortunate for Eric Jones.
And shortly after the restart, then that's when Kyle Busch takes over. He leads a little bit, but Harvick right there on his bumper. So.
But before Kevin Harvick could reel in Kyle Busch, he would have the 78 of Truex and the 24 of Byron getting to each other. Byron goes into the wall, but Truex manages to downshift it and save it. It was just an amazing save by Martin Truex Jr.
That's a real veteran move, I guess. He's just trying everything he can to stay off the wall. It looked like Byron, he didn't really mean to go up into the Truex. He just come off that low groove and got loose and just washed up into the side of Truex, and they just went around. So I ain't going to put no blame on Byron for it. It's just a racing deal.
Competition caution would come out because of rain the night before that. Lap 27, we'd have Kyle Busch leading at that point. Byron is the free pass. And we had a penalty for the 9 car, the guy that won last week. Didn't really fire off well this week, did he?
No, he's just... I guess that's kind of the way it goes. Sometimes you win some, you lose some, and sometimes it's back to back.
Back to reality the next week, I guess. Yeah. But we'd have the restart. Kevin Harvick would manage to take over the lead from Kyle Busch, and he just had an amazing restart.
And shortly after that, probably about lap 37. Kyle Larson was complaining about a loose wheel, so he had to come in the pits to fix that.
Chase Elliott had some sort of issue. I believe it was a loose wheel. But he would also follow Larson in, so chasing another rabbit into the pit road. And unfortunate for them, but they would rally back to get okay finishing results. Nothing like these two, but Chase still managed to get a top 10. So
yeah,
really good rally back for him.
Yeah, never can count Larson and Chase out because their team always fights back and gets back on the lead lap. And, it seemed like there was a thing going on with loose wheels or something during the race.
Yeah, it is the fastest racetrack that we go to. I think that's just the thing that happens. It's like it just really shakes the car up, and sometimes loose wheels happen like that. But winning the stage would be Kevin Harvick, and he would win, I believe it's his 11th stage win.
Wow, that's real impressive.
Really reminds me of Truex last year. We'd have Kyle Busch not too far behind in second. Then we would have Ryan Blaney. He's creeping up on the big three, not necessarily as fast as them, but he's
hanging right there with them. I mean, he's showing some speed, and he's like, I ain't letting y'all get too far ahead of me. So
yeah, another guy who's been kind of there, kind of not there. It's kind of like Blaney. He's like one week he's there, 1 week he's not. But it's Kurt Busch in fourth. We had some interesting silly season news about him and Jamie McMurray. Nothing's really confirmed yet, but causing some talk in the garage. And then we'd have Martin Truex in fifth after that spin with Byron.
And then after that round of pit stops, who is be leading after that? Jimmy Johnson. He comes out first on pit road because he only took 2 tires.
I like that because it's like, they know that they don't have the best cars. They can't qualify as well as some of these guys. They're trying to see how their car would react in clean air, see if that's the issue. He managed to keep the lead for a little bit, but just wasn't enough for the big three. They would have the 47 spinning out on pit road. He would have a backwards pit stop.
Yeah, but I think Casey Kane helped him a little bit on that.
Yeah, Casey Kane said, "Hey, welcome to Watkins Glen again," and then pushed him, and all that happened.
He's like, "Oh, we're not walking Glen. We're pitting on the right now." But they got his car service and went on.
That could have been really terrible for a pit crew member. And Kyle Busch was right in front of him. A little bit more speed there. Kyle Busch's day would have been toast at that point. So thankfully he didn't hit any cars or hit anybody. Came really close to Paul Menard's crew, but thankfully nothing happened. And Kyle Busch would lead because Kevin Harvick, one of his pit crew members, would have issues with the gun. Once again, they need to figure out the gun.
I think it slipped out of his hand or something.
Yeah.
So
if they could seal up all those issues with the gun, I think four crew would be basically unbeatable because we saw how Kyle Busch can win these races off pit road and Kevin Harvick loses them off pit road. So if Harvick does that, he could pull away from the big three or the other big three.
Yeah, I guess he's giving them a little challenge. Like, well, I'm going to tease y'all a little bit. Let y'all in the lead, and I'll chase you down. So
that's one thing I noticed with the big three. It's like Kevin Harvick is the one with the most speed. Kyle Busch's crew has the best pit stops. That's how they win the races. And Truex wins their races off of strategy. So if it comes down to any of those things, Homestead's going to be an interesting race to watch.
Yeah, because it's like they're all three strong in different areas, so it's pretty cool.
Yes. It's really, really interesting to watch this year. It's like these three guys just taking it to them, and we'll see if they can keep that dominance throughout the rest of the season when the playoffs commence. But we'll just have to see. Then not long after that, we'd have caution out for Ryan Newman. He would be one of the strongest RCR cars in a while. Ran pretty well there for a little bit until that spin.
Yeah, he was pretty strong there in the beginning of the race, and I ain't sure if his handle on his car went away or just got in the wrong groove or something, but for some reason he just got loose back here and spun.
So right now it's Jimmy Johnson, Truex, Suarez, and Eric Jones. They all stay out. The 48 would lead for a little bit. And then that Jones boy once again would wreck and spin with some contact with the 12.
Yeah, I ain't sure. It looked like the 12 was in the middle groove. I don't know if Jones tried to come down side drafting a little bit, or they just fight for the same space. So they just touched the corner panels a little bit, and Jones, he ended up on the worst end of that part.
They would have the 78. He would be leading because Jimmy Johnson would go down pit road. He didn't think he could make it all the way through the stage, so he filled it up, and Truex would lead. Harvick chases him down, and Jimmy Johnson's strategy wasn't so bad because Truex couldn't make it through the rest of the stage.
Yeah, because Harvick was running pretty hard, and I believe the 78 team should have told him a little earlier, hey, we're going to be short on gas. We need to save a little bit. And I believe the 78 slowed down a little bit trying to save, but it's a little bit too late. And that's the way it goes sometimes.
I said, the 78 has the best strategy out of the big three, but it just backfired on them at this point. And those things happen.
Yeah, I ain't sure why you want to play that kind of strategy for a second stage. I mean, if
it was the race win, I'd understand, but didn't really work in his favor, and he would go a lap down because when he ran out of fuel, it was too late.
Yeah, I believe that Suarez was on the same. He started saving earlier, but he still come in before the pit road closed, and he would go lap down because of that. So both of them trying to do the strategy and the gas mileage, but it didn't work out for them.
But one of the smartest things I think that Suarez did throughout the race was he pitted before they closed pit road. He made the call that they couldn't make it, and I think it was good on his part. Whereas Truex missed the opportunity to not go that far back in the field, but still, either way, it's a pretty bad penalty on both of them.
Yeah, because you got 2 to go. The pit road closes. You're out of gas. You got to come in. So
yeah,
so it's pretty much. Why are we doing this?
Pretty much laid in your bed at that moment, but it didn't really work out for either one of those guys. But Kevin Harvick would sweep the stages in Michigan, and we would see the top 4 be the exact same, with Kyle Busch in second, Blaney third, Kurt Busch in fourth. But interesting here, we have Austin Dillon joining the show.
Yeah, he was showing some pretty good speed. I mean, we really hadn't heard a whole lot from him since Daytona, and so the Chevrolets are starting to come around now.
Yeah, and it's odd how RCR leapfrogged both Hendrick and Chip Ganassi in total speed. As Michigan is a speed track, so maybe RCR has found something in their camp.
Yeah, maybe so.
We'll have to see when we go the next mile and a half and see how they do there.
Yeah, I believe Blaney. He ran in the top 5 about all day. I mean, he really didn't falter much. I mean, at one point he was up to second.
Yeah. And stage 3, we'd have Matt D as the free pass. Again, Truex he would be a lap down at that point. Kevin Harvick would lead us to green. After a few laps, we would have a caution out for 13 to Ty Dillon. He went into the wall because he ran over.
He was having some battery issues.
And it wasn't his battery. That's the funny thing. He ran over Timmy Hill's battery, I believe it was.
Yeah. Because Timmy Hill's like, hey, it ain't no power. It's like, what's the deal with this thing? There's no battery.
The battery just
There's no charge. There's no battery.
The battery gave in his resignation, and he is gone.
So pretty much Ty Dillon said, I can get it for you.
He went to join Ty Dillon's team there. He said, I want to be on your team. Didn't work out for him, though.
Wow, it just really exploded. I mean, that's pretty bad for Ty Dillon. He's running good. I mean, so.
Yeah, I remember seeing something on Twitter, like Harvick said that he saw something out there. Could have been what it was, but
yeah, Larson, he went around it. I guess he saw it in time and dodged it, but ain't sure what happened. Ty Dillon, so.
Which they could have threw the caution out any moment there if they saw that on there, because that could have been terrible for somebody in some. I mean, it was terrible for Ty Dillon, but it could have been a huge mess out there. But thankfully, no one got hurt and everything was all right.
Just imagine if you was the leader.
Oh, yeah, that would have sucked.
Man, that would have been terrible. You know, you got a good car and somebody's battery just ruins your day. So
we're not playing Mario Kart, guys. You can't throw stuff at everybody else. It's not cool, Timmy Hill.
You don't get extra points, so
it's not the blue shell, so that might give some teams some ideas here.
Yeah, I'm throwing out.
Put in 2 batteries and there'll be a button.
Then you see the car.
But after that, Martin Truex would be the lucky dog.
Yeah, he gets his lap back. So sometimes it's good to just be lucky. So
maybe Truex had the button to press for Timmy Hill's car. I don't know, but it was really lucky for Truex.
He might went, hey, can you get your spotter go to Timmy Hill? Tell him to throw his battery out. I need a caution.
And after all of the what is on the track, what was it mess that we had, Kevin Harvick would lead some more, would have green flag pit stops at lap 170. Austin Dillon tried an interesting strategy there. He tried to go with 2 tires and just didn't really work out for him. Trevor Bayne would stall on pit road, would have no caution as the team would roll him back down to a stall.
Yeah, it's very interesting that Austin Dillon he would get up to what, second?
Yeah.
I mean, he had a really strong car at that point, you know, and maybe if he pitted earlier, he might have got ahead of Harvick, but still, you know, nobody's got the speed that Harvick does. He's figured out these turns and the way he backs off and he gets so much a good run off the turns is incredible.
And Kevin Harvick would win for the 7th points paying race of the season, 8 including the All-Star race. So he's just,
I guess, you know, Jimmy's a 7-time champion, but Harvick, he's a 7-time now, so 7-time winner this year.
Yeah. So. And, you know, it's interesting that him and Kyle Busch could rack up 20 points combined, or 20 wins combined. I think that's really interesting that we could have, you know, 2 people winning over half the season.
I think they're just competing with each other. So, hey, I got 1 up on you, 2 up on you. So
yeah, it's really interesting. Like these past few weeks, it's like the way Kevin and Kyle have been running. It's like Truex, he's been there, but he hasn't necessarily been the best of the big 3. And, you know, he almost won Watkins Glen, but you know that's really different. So maybe we might be talking about the big 2.
Yeah, 2's company, 3's a crowd. So
yeah. Or we could be talking about the big 4 as we saw Keselowski finish second in this race.
Yeah, Penske's really showing some strength right now, so I wouldn't count them out. I mean, they're doing some homework.
But as Harvick won the race, he decided the only young gun that can share victory lane with him is Keelan Harvick, his son. He had this awesome thing where he let Keelan go get the flag and ride around in his race car.
And that was one of the coolest things ever I seen. You know, being a dad myself, you know, it's really cool. Get your son with you, and I know Keelan said he wants to get the flag, and so Harvick told him, go. You know, if you want, you go get it. And then Harvick takes the window out, puts him in there, and rides around. That's about the coolest thing in there.
So you could tell he really wanted to win that race after that. He just put on a clinic for everyone else.
Yeah, I think he had a real motive to go win this race, just so he can have Keelan get the flag and maybe ride him around in the car. I mean, it's a family sport. I mean, and when you got your kid there and Cameron along with in the car, that's pretty cool. Because not every workplace you go, you take your kids. So for him to share that moment, and he'd always remember this Michigan win.
Yep, we'll always have that flag, always have that memories. We're going to review how our picks did. I was going to pick Harvick. I was. Then I decided, I'm not going to do that for my first one, and then picked Almirola. I thought Almirola had some really good speed. He just couldn't really put it on this weekend. Still managed to finish in the top 10. He finished 7th. And Steve's pick here, he picked Blaney, which wasn't bad. It just wasn't as fast as the big three.
Yeah, I believe on the restart he would really take off, but he just didn't have the long run speed. So I know he ran better than 5th, but they tried to do some two-tire pit strategy on the green flags, and I was really hoping to see him get his win. I mean, he's really motivated, and he's always the highest running Penske car, but Brad, he always ends up finishing a little bit further up. So
we have Bristol Motor Speedway next weekend. It's going to be a Saturday night race, short tracking once again in NASCAR. It's going to be really exciting. So who is your pick to win at Bristol?
Well, like I was talking about Brad Keselowski and the Penske team, I really think he's getting hungry right now, and he's wanting to win. And they show some real strengths. I know they didn't qualify good here at Michigan, but through the race they kept working on it and getting on up in there. And I believe Brad's going to get it done this weekend.
And as for me, I'm going to pick Brad Keselowski's arch nemesis, Kyle Busch. It's going to be Batman versus Superman at first side draft. So we're going to have, I just think Kyle Busch has really good experience at Bristol. I think, Penske will give him a run for his money, but I think Kyle Busch has the most experience winning these races. He swept the weekend twice in his career. I think Kyle Busch will get it done.
Yeah, I was kind of debating between Brad and Kyle Busch. I'm like, man, I don't know. So that's the reason I just want to go with Brad.
So shout out to Robin on Twitter at rdj_1. He found Dale Jr. in this picture. So that's our mini game that we have. If you follow us on Twitter, you can see the thumbnail, and if you can find the hidden Dale Jr., we'll give you a shout out on Twitter.
Yeah, and thanks for looking for him.
Yeah, thanks for playing. So next week we're going to have Bristol. It's going to be interesting. Tempers might be flaring. Batman might beat Superman, or Superman might beat Batman. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. It's going to be interesting. So hope you all enjoy the race. We'll see you for the Bristol review.